What's up, Stu Crew? We have had a lot going on, so we thought it was about time just to sit down and, I guess, give you a life update.
Yeah.
Walk you through all the things that's been happening, things that are happening in the future. It's been a lot.
Within the last, week and a half? Week?
Honestly, true. Some ups, some downs, some scary things. I'm going to try not to cry in the first 2 seconds of this video. Let's start on a happy note. So, something exciting. Our daughter, Layla, is turning 5 this month.
Yeah.
At the end of this month, on the 31st. I cannot believe she's turning 5, honestly.
It's crazy.
That's so wild, babe. We're going to have a 5-year-old.
I was looking at him the other day, even Zade laying there looked big. And I was like, we literally have just 2 big kids now.
He told me that last night. He was we just don't realize how big our kids are. It's like Zade was laying with me and he's just like an adult.
We're 2 old parents with 2 big kids.
With that being said, it is her 5th birthday. We're going back and forth trying to decide what we should do for her, which we originally, months ago thought, okay, why don't we do just a one-on-one trip with her?
Yep.
Take her to Disney World. Is it the one in Florida World? And all she's talked about, she's seen videos of Bippity Boppity Boo. Basically, it's where you go to Disney Castle, they dress you up, they do sparkles in your hair, they let you pick out a princess dress, and it's just I know it's a lot for a 5th birthday, but also this is our first baby, and a 5th-year-old birthday is huge, okay? It's a big deal. My mom always made birthdays a big deal, so...
Well, and essentially we're kind of just taking what would have probably been a trip down the road for some type of a family trip or something, but we're making her feel special with her birthday in a way.
Also, I feel like you're only in this little girl era for so long.
Oh, she's already grown
up. She's
up.
not gonna want to do this when she's 15 or 10.
No.
You know?
Don't even talk about that.
She's so into princesses and stuff right now. So anyways, we actually booked a place to stay, everything, found flights, and I was waiting up on the day that it opened to book Bippity Boppity Boo, and I missed it. I don't know why.
One day.
I think they opened 2 days at once. Okay?
Ooh, maybe.
They did, because the next day was already open when I looked.
Maybe. So anyways, it was already booked when she went to look
so we couldn't do it. So I was super discouraged, oh my goodness, this is all she talks about when you ask her what she wants to do for her birthday. She says Bippity Boppity Boo. Anyways, long story short, we were kind of okay, what should we do? There's a place an American Girl doll, hotel or event thing that you could go to, but she doesn't know much about American Girl doll yet, so I kind of would have to introduce her to that. We thought maybe a princess party with her cousins, because she's really close to her cousins her age right now. I don't know. We just wanted to make her 5th birthday special. Well, long story short, we booked a 4-night Disney cruise. We asked her who she wanted to take with her, and she said her brother Zade, which is literally so sweet. Yeah, she really did. So honestly, it's kind of like a family vacation, but her birthday. And the very, very best part is we booked Bippity Boppity Boo on her birthday, because Bippity Boppity Boo is on the shit. It literally could not be more perfect. She's gonna wake up and get to go to that and feel like a queen. Also, Zade, I can't wait to tell him, because I don't know what conversation it was, but a little bit back, Layla asked to take a picture with someone, her best friend or something, and I took a picture, and Zade was I want a picture with my best friend, and I was Zade, who do you want a picture with? And he said, Mickey Mouse. I'm not even kidding. He wants a picture with Mickey Mouse, his best friend.
So we're going to have to do that.
So it's going to be so much all in one. So we're so excited. So we leave next week. We're going to spend her birthday on a Disney cruise. Zade's going to be with us. It's going to be a whole family thing. And honestly, I don't think I've been more excited for something in my whole life.
Yeah.
It's the cruise, sure, the cruise is for us, but really, it's about watching the magic in your kids' eyes.
Oh, especially on a Disney
we're so
cruise.
Ready.
This is more for the kids. I'm just going more to, focus on them.
We looked at Disney World. We looked at even Disneyland. I was trying to see if I could book a Bippity Boppity Boo there. And then my sister actually told me that they did it on ships. So that's kind of how all of this came about. And we were, so excited. We need to pack and all that fun stuff. And we really should, Layla knows that we're going on a Disney cruise. She doesn't know exactly what it is, but I feel we should do a video getting their reaction. We're leaving in the morning or something. She doesn't know when either. Yeah, so she's no clue about Bippity.
It's gonna be good.
So that's a little update for you on future plans. We're so excited for that. Anyways, let's rewind to last week.
Yeah.
So last week we are having a normal day of work. We're going through, checking off our to-do list. Was I at the shop that day? day?
No, not when we got the call, at least. Maybe you were that morning.
I thought it was that morning, and then we were doing laundry.
You probably went to the shop that morning, and then we were just working on stuff from home that afternoon, and I get a call.
Yeah.
From my sister saying that they're taking my dad to the ER. So we're trying to figure out what it was, what's going on. So that day he kind of he had a lapse of like, he couldn't remember some stuff, even some like basic stuff he always remembers. Like they always watch Price is Right each morning, my mom and dad do. He like saw that on TV and he's like, oh, what game show is this? His
daughter previously had been dating someone just recently.
Yeah.
And she mentioned his name and he was kind of like, who's that? What?
Yeah, some weird stuff. So they said he had taken a fall on the ice like a week prior to this and did hit his head, but he acted fine. So like he was saying, no, I'm fine. I'm not going in. Like everything was fine. They end up taking him to the emergency room. They're running tests and stuff. Well, in the meantime, we're sitting there talking here because we live over 3 hours away.
Yeah. Of course, whenever you get a call like that someone's going to the emergency room, we're kind of obviously starting to be very scared.
Yeah, for sure.
And praying that, everything's okay because no one could really figure out what was going on. It was almost like he wasn't there, but he was like there.
So, and it could be one of those things where they say dementia's starting to come and it's sad, but not as bad as like if it was a brain bleed or something.
Yeah.
So we were kind of thinking, do we wait this out? My mom and them were saying, well, you could wait to hear what the doctor says or whatever. But we just decided we're just coming because like it's only 3 hours. We'd much rather just in case anything happens. So, some other stuff. He was like driving around and didn't even remember streets that he was like supposed to turn on. That might not sound crazy, but like my dad grew up in Nashville and knows all those streets like the back of his hand. Like I could call him and say, Dad, I'm by some blue building. Where do I go to get home? He'd be like, oh, go up 2 roads, turn right on this street. Like it was crazy.
He was trying to get home, right?
Everything that he does daily was like being forgotten. So that's what all the concern was. He tried to call his doctor, couldn't remember the phone number. So all of that. I didn't say all that. So like there was a lot of stuff that led them to this point. So he ends up getting to the hospital with my sisters. We're coming at this point. We packed up in 15, 30 minutes. Carlin threw enough clothes in the bags in case we had to stay a couple days.
Yeah.
We don't really know.
We didn't really know what it was going to look like.
We were just prepared. So we end up heading that way towards Nashville. It's a little over 3 hours. They get him there, and they're like, the doctor's asking him for stuff for signing in information, Social Security. He doesn't remember his Social Security number. He starts putting his phone number down. So, like, this is just reassuring that, like, we know something's up. Like, it's definitely worth coming to the ER. When they called the doctor, he said, yeah, get to the ER. Like, he knew the stuff that he was forgetting, the everyday task, like, it wasn't normal.
Yeah. And, like, he went to call the doctor, but then he got on the phone, and didn't your sister say he was kind of like, wait, what am I calling about?
Yeah, like even stuff they had talked about a few minutes prior, he wasn't remembering what was going on.
It's just so scary.
Yeah, so all of those things, like hearing that, we were like, well, we're going to go on down there. So we didn't film anything because obviously, like in a moment like that, we're just focused on like, we hope he's okay, and like that's not on our mind. But we get there, and we end up just kind of obviously waiting in the waiting room. We're just there for support. We're just praying. We're just hoping it's not like a brain bleed or a tumor. Like there's so many things people were saying that it could be that can cause you to have like the kind of rapid memory loss. Yeah. So they end up doing like a CT scan, an MRI. They say one of those, I'm no doctor, one of those showed that there was a stroke in the past. So they said this should not be affecting what is happening now, but somehow they can tell it was in the past.
Yeah, but they can't tell us when.
Yeah,
like,
and it wasn't like a mini stroke. It was like a stroke. So that's what we're like going crazy. Like, when was that? What could that have been? What would that have affected? And then they say...
it just saw the damage that it left, not like... They can't pinpoint unless they catch it while it's happening, I guess.
I don't even know how you would time that. I guess they know more than me. There's probably something they can see. Then they said from the ice that he definitely had a concussion from falling on the ice. Even though he thought he was fine, he was like, oh, there's no need to get checked out. They said that was a concussion, so that could be affecting this. But then they also kind of said, which, praise the Lord, they ruled out the big stuff like the brain bleeds and tumors.
They didn't see anything
But they said it could also be like rapid onset dementia. They said it's something we're going to have to just watch. They couldn't tell if it was just from the concussion. So they sent him to his regular doctor, and she pretty much just like said what that doctor said. Definitely was a concussion from the fall on the ice. If you get 2 in a row, I'm sure you know that's very bad. So he's not working right now, and he's just resting, trying to lay low.
His doctor set him up also to see a neurologist.
Yes, so that's coming up.
They want him to follow up with that, just to see if they can, I don't know, pinpoint more details of kind of what
Right.
Where it was just like
what's
everything.
Weird. That's what's weird. That's why I don't even think it would be the rapid onset dementia, but I didn't think all that would come from just a concussion. So that's why it's good he's lined up for the neurologist, because that should give us some more deep diving answers. But a lot of you guys have been asking and saying you're praying, so we wanted to give an update. It's probably a lot better than it could have been, but also at this time, I don't think there's any quite hardcore answers until we see the neurologist. So.
Yeah, and I think that it was something that brought us together for sure. And it makes you realize, like, how serious, like, life can get quickly.
Yeah, one phone call can just, like...
And I think it was a really good reminder. And we got to spend time with Evan's family that night. And it was just good to all connect. He ended up coming home from the hospital that night. So we spent the night. And then we actually headed back the next day because we had a marriage conference that we were supposed to head to at our church over the weekend.
Right.
So my sister was going to watch the kids for a night, and we unpacked, repacked, and headed there. So we had our first night there, and that's when we get a text from my dad on the family group message and was like, hey, which there's kind of confusion now. She was actually going to my grandparents this week to take care of Mama Jane and Papa Bill, just because my Jane had some doctor's appointments that she had to go to, so she was going to take her to that. And then obviously Papa Bill kind of needs around the clock care right now. So we kind of been taking turns. So she was there taking care of him. So Dad sends out a text that Mom's not feeling well, pray for her. But I guess some people thought that he was talking about his mom.
That's how I took it. The way he texted it, I thought he was saying, hey, your mom made it to South Carolina or whatever, and Mom's not feeling good. She's hurting in her back, so they're going to take her to the ER.
Yeah.
I thought he was saying, like, his mom's back.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, I think everyone was kind of everywhere. But at that point, we're just like, okay, she thinks she has, like, I think they knew that she had kidney stones at that point. She had been battling pain a while since my dad's birthday party, which we kind of didn't know just because my mom has like an insane pain tolerance. Long story short, she actually ended up calling an ambulance, going to the hospital. By that next morning, I called my dad that morning while I was getting ready for our like first official like marriage conference session. And I was like, hey, how's Mom? What's really going on? That whole night she'd been in a ton of pain. They found out, I'm not sure if they knew already, but they found out that it was kidney stones, but they went to do a surgery and she had already had like an infection or whatever.
Yeah, so this is when it starts kind of turning.
So that kind of complicated the surgery because she had so much infection. So then I was like, okay, well, this is not good. Like, should I come? And Dad kind of really didn't give me an answer. He was just kind of like, it's not very good. So you might want to like maybe come after your marriage conference, maybe come that night. So I get off the phone with him and I actually talked to Evan and I was like, I think I should go. Like, I'm actually getting kind of scared because she was in a lot of pain. So I actually called my sister. Two of my sisters were there too with their husbands at the marriage conference. I called Katie. She's grabbing a shower. So I called my sister Josie and was like, hey, I think I'm going to go see Mom. It's about like a 4 or 5 hour drive. And we'll just like skip the marriage conference. Do you want to come? And she was like, yeah, I think we should come. So should we leave before or should we leave after? We were just kind of like figuring out what we should do. Talked to Katie. We were like, let's just leave before the session just because Dad sent like a text right as it was starting and said, Mom's taking a turn for the worse and she's like septic now. Like her body's septic, which means like the infection had gotten in her bloodstream. And there's a lot that goes into it, if you know what that means. Like, it kind of causes your body to shut down, so you have to, like, kind of get it ahead of the game. And I think that's when it kind of broke down. Which my dad said it was bad. I just didn't realize how bad it was. Which, we had our kids at home with babysitters, and so they all actually jumped in the car and they went home to our babies, and us girls jumped in a car that was there because we were like an hour closer, so we just threw our bags in the car and we started driving, which it was all back roads because it was detoured at this time.
I think that's from the
hurricane.
The hurricane stuff a while back, yeah.
So it was kind of detoured. It was back roads, and I think, as far as I know, we're like the first ones on the road going, and then some of my other siblings we were calling on the way, and they were trying to make plans to come. But we get to the hospital, and I think this was the scariest part, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone so sick in my life. She had been moved to the ICU, and Josie and I walked in the room, and when I tell you, she looked so sick. Like, she was so sick. And we just didn't say anything. She didn't know we were in the room. We just kept looking at her. And at this point, the doctors were kind of telling Dad it could go either way. And at this point, it's really hard to recover from something this bad because her infection was so bad. And she looked up and she saw us. And I don't think she really knew who we were at that point. She was just very out of it. She could barely open her eyes. She was very, like, swollen. And she just kind of looked up and she was like, I'm freezing. And I was like, you need another blanket. She had like 4 blankets on her. Also, she's in the ICU, so it's very hot in there. And they like have tons of blankets on her. So I walked out and I asked a nurse for another blanket. They put another blanket on her. I guess because she was getting so many like fluids and antibiotics. And then her alarm kept going off while we were in there because her oxygen would dip. Whenever she'd doze off into sleep, she'd almost like forget to breathe. And so my dad would like shake her a little bit and be like, you can't forget to breathe. Wake up, wake up.
And then we're just back home during all of this because we're with the kids. So like, I feel bad. I want to be there for Carlin, but if I was there, they were like, you'd probably just be in a hotel room with the kids because they obviously can't come up there. So it was a hard time to be all separated, but at least she was there with, like, all your family showed up, right? Pretty much everybody.
After we went and visited, Trace and Lydia showed up shortly after. And then, so it was nice that we had everyone in the waiting room there for a little bit just to pray and talk about it. My dad just, every time I'd go back there, he'd like, every couple minutes, he'd just pray over Mom. And that God would heal her. And I think at that point, it made us all really realize that life is so fragile. And we take for granted health and having your parents around and siblings and each other. And I think that was by far the scariest day. Eventually that night, the rest of my family showed up. We all sat in the hospital all day long, just like praying and talking, and we just kept taking turns going to see Mom in the ICU. And there would be like a couple times that she would like wake up and kind of try and talk to you, but you could tell she was like very, almost like loopy, but like she was on a ton of pain meds. Like she was in so much pain. That night in the waiting room, I told my sisters, I was like, I think I might be getting sick. My throat started to hurt and my head started hurting. And so I didn't go back in to see Mom. But we also were like, oh, well, it's probably just exhaustion and there's been so much stress. I mean, we were just like crying on and off all day. So I was like, okay, well, we'll go back to the room tonight when visiting hours are over. I'll try and get some sleep, and then hopefully when I wake up in the morning, I'll be fine. So we ended up we booked a hotel. Everyone kind of like went together and booked rooms. Us 3 girls stayed together. By that time, most of the family was in town. Some of the ones from Florida hadn't made it yet. But everyone was trying to like drive through the night and get there by the morning, just because Mom was kind of still in the state where we didn't know what was going to happen next. So we got to the hotel. We tried to get in bed. I actually slept pretty hard till about like 2, 3 in the morning, and I started just waking up consistently, and I was like, I'm that's when I kind of like knew. I was like, I'm sick. I checked my Oura ring and I think my temperature was like a 102. So I like called my sister and asked her like what I should take, what I should do, and to check on mom because she was staying with mom and dad. They like made an exception for her to spend the night there so that dad and her could rotate because my dad had been up with mom all night the previous night. Anyway, so I ended up like going to the lobby, getting some medicine. I didn't really know what it was yet. I went back upstairs and I threw a bunch of pillows in the bathtub. I don't know if I told you this because I was scared to get my sister sick because then they couldn't see mom.
You're way too selfless.
And so I was like trying to sleep. I put my big coat on and I was trying to sleep in the bathtub and I shut the door and the girls were like still sound asleep. When I had called Michaela though, she said that they like did more blood cultures, I think you call it, and mom had some better numbers, but she also had some bad numbers. So it was still just kind of one of those things that time was going to tell. But she was definitely going spurts where she was like, where she could talk and would be a little bit better. So that kind of like made you feel better. I ended up calling Evan in the middle of the night because I was literally just in tears.
I was like, I will drive down there right now. Like, what can I do? I feel so helpless. Like,
no, and it was fine. He was doing what he could. But he told me that Layla had started running a fever.
Yeah.
So at that point, we kind of realized that we had picked up something from the hospital because that had been like the only place we were at in the waiting room, which honestly, that is typical. I had the kids like wearing masks and stuff. But so she was running a high fever at home. So I was like, you stay there, you take care of her. I'm going to stay in the hotel all day, see what happens. And like everyone else was going to go to the hospital that day. So I was in the hotel all day by myself. I just kind of like on and off sleeping and praying and calling for updates. The rest of the family ended up getting in that day. And this is where I think she kind of did turn for the better a little bit. She was definitely not out of the woods, but she was talking to my siblings, which is a lot different than when I saw her for the first time.
And I felt bad for Carlin because, like, this is the day they said was kind of pivotal to see how she does. And Carlin is stuck in a hotel after she went down there. And, of course, she wants to be with her mom.
I did not even care. I just wanted to make sure mom was okay, and I didn't want to expose her.
True.
To anything, or any of the other siblings to expose it to mom, because obviously, if she's already this sick, it's only going to make it worse, even though I didn't know what I had at this point. But I think by that night, mom really started to turn.
Yeah.
It's so grateful.
For the better, yes.
It could have gone a lot different. We were just so grateful. The doctors came in, said basically she's not fully out of the woods, but her chances are so high. She's doing really good. She's just extremely weak. She had some, like, I guess, extra fluid behind her heart, and her abdomen was, like, swollen or extended. So they were trying to figure out that. They were trying to figure out when they could do surgery, how much of her infection, like, trying to get her out of septis. Anyways, long story short, it's a miracle, but she's recovered.
Yeah.
She's out of the hospital.
She's already home.
She had surgery, and she got home last night.
Yeah.
So she was already thanking everyone. You could still kind of FaceTimed her last night to check on her, and you could kind of tell that she's still a little bit, like, weak and tired. Sure. So she's going to have, like, a long recovery just because her body was so weak.
Yeah.
But she's, like, out of the woods. She's out of the woods. Her kidney stones are out. I think it was, like, 8 millimeter.
I don't know how they measure it, but it was probably huge the way they acted.
I ended up coming home the next day with my sisters, and then we ended up getting the flu, and it's kind of just gone through all of us.
Yeah.
So Layla got it first, and me, and then Zade got it, and then Evan was the last one, so we've been dealing with that.
So we've been locked up in a house for the last few days, still without a refrigerator, for any of you wondering about that from like 2 weeks ago. I think it's going on 3 weeks. And they still haven't come and fixed it.
Yeah, so poor Evan couldn't have, like, popsicles for the kids while they were sick or anything, which we could, like, set some stuff outside, but it's not, like, freezer.
No, it's a little more expensive, but praise the Lord for DoorDash. I was able to get them some stuff and everything, but, yeah, it wasn't super ideal being home with both kids when I'm already not near as good of a parent as Carlin and then them getting sick. True. But it was just a crazy weekend. Like, I mean, everything they were going through down there, like, we wanted to all be together, but I think the Lord knew it was probably best because then Layla ended up getting sick. So we would have just been stuck in the hotel, I guess, with you. I don't know. God knew.
Honestly a miracle that this is the outcome we got.
Wow.
I'm just so grateful. I was talking to Mom last night, and she said the doctors were talking to her, and she was like, I guess I really was really sick. She said She did say that she remembered me and Josie coming in. Or she said, I remember looking up and y'all were bawling. And she's like, oh, good. They came to tell me bye.
She said, I literally felt like I was on my deathbed. And the doctor said, honestly, you kind of were. Like,
I know.
But it was a miracle, the power of prayer.
And we had so many church members praying for us.
Everybody at the marriage conference, they were like, hey, why did you just leave the marriage
We all
conference?
just up and left without telling anyone.
Yeah.
We were all very scared, and I'm just so thankful. It's just a praise to God that He protected her, protected our family, and it also kind of brought us all together. Sadly enough, I didn't even get to see half of my siblings from Florida because I was sick that whole day.
True.
So, but everyone else kind of got to be together and kind of, I don't know, lean on each other for strength throughout that. But it felt like the longest 5 days of everyone's lives.
I can't imagine. I mean...
It was awful.
I think sometimes God just gives you things in your life that kind of... Maybe not this is the reason behind it, but, like, it wakes you up.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize. Like, within 1 week...
It puts in perspective, like, life.
Within 1 week, both of our parents went through something, which your mom's is on a different scale.
And back to back, it was like 2 days apart.
Literally. It was the day we got back, pretty much.
And then we turned around and left again. So it was definitely a lot on us. That was honestly probably why I picked up something too, because my immunity was like very low from just like stress and not sleeping good. So I feel like that has a lot to do with it. Honestly, I haven't had the flu in, I don't know, like 2 years, 3 years. It's been so long, like Thanksgiving a couple years ago. But anyway, so that's kind of an update on my mom. Evan's dad, I would have really just, I asked you just to pray for both of them.
Yeah.
We don't really know what's going on with Evan's dad so far, or no like definitive answers. But hopefully like that's the last we see of it and he's fine.
Yeah.
And also my mom, she still has a long road to recover. Her body's extremely weak.
They said it'd be a little while for her to get back to 100%.
They were saying like 5 weeks,
Yeah.
which I think my sister said that. I don't know if she heard that from the doctors or what, but just for her body to recover.
Yeah.
And get like all the nutrients back in that she needs, because it kind of stripped her of everything. What else? What other updates, Evan?
I mean, I hate to throw out any updates after that. Anything else, it's just going to go downhill from there.
I know. We got our Tesla back. It's actually getting wrapped right now.
I'm wrapping it this time, so I think that'll be fun.
They fixed the issues that were messed up on delivery. So they fixed that, so we should have our family car maybe next week.
Maybe this weekend.
So that'll be nice.
Depends.
That'd be nice.
And the fridge. They did text me yesterday. I didn't say that earlier. I was too busy, I guess, being slightly annoyed. Not going to lie. With 3 weeks without a fridge, it's kind of starting to get to me a little bit. They're coming, I think, tomorrow to hopefully fix that. Yeah. So we'll see.
Everything sounds like so insignificant when you're talking about like when your family
After
members
talking about our parents and then worrying about my fridge, it sounded a little bad.
I know.
All right.
No, I understand. It's been rough.
The popsicles was the most annoying. I wanted to give my kids some popsicles so they felt better, and I don't have a freezer.
I know. And it's also like, it's 2025. We had all these goals of like getting on routine and eating
healthy, work out every day. I don't feel like lifting 5 pounds right now. You can probably tell I still am a little sinusy.
The last 2 weeks, I feel like the cough's definitely lingering. But I feel like, I don't even know what I was going to say.
Hey, God's good. The things He brought us all through within the last, was it really just a week? I think it is, like a week and a couple days maybe.
Yeah.
That whole week, we could be looking at such different week
He's
right
so
now.
Good.
God's so good.
He's so good. Anyways, we want to thank you guys for watching and just kind of catching up on our lives with us. There's some good things, some scary things, and honestly, all in all, God gets the praise. God gets all the glory for everything. And we're just so grateful for seeing His hand all over this week in so many different ways with honestly, I didn't even think about this, but all of us traveling, like that was a lot of people
Oh,
traveling
that
at
scares
one
me
time.
every time. I'm weird about
And
it.
God kept every single person safe. There was no wrecks. There was a close call.
Really? You didn't tell me about that because you knew I'd be scared. Every time she leaves that we aren't together, I get weird. It's like, yes, I'm trusting God, but I'm always I guess I'm that kind of person. Like, I probably shouldn't do this.
Yeah, you're
but I
always
just
scared of
worry,
the
like,
unknown, but...
what if something happens or a wreck or I don't know.
So you
praise the
definitely
Lord
saw
for that.
God's hand in everything this week, and I'm just so thankful for that. I'm thankful that He is our strength when we're weak, when we have nowhere to turn. You can always turn to Him. Doesn't matter if it's on the high mountain or the low valleys. He's there. He's listening. He wants to hear from us.
Yeah.
And knowing that His presence was there, and His power, and His love, and His peace. So much peace.
Yeah.
So grateful.
All right, guys, that's probably it. Thanks for chatting with us.
We'll be back next week with hopefully something that doesn't make you cry.
Yeah.
Or make me cry. Next week will be fun celebrating our daughter's 5th birthday.
Oh, I can't wait for that. We'll have to bring you guys along. But anyways, I guess that's it. We love you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.